Hello, class. This is a newly posted lecture on Big Black Stand in Attica and an interesting part of our history. And I included, this graphic novel, and I'm glad that I did, in light of current events. You can see that situations like these are something that haven't, this has been ongoing for a while, and, people are, I think, looking for change. And this is interesting. This lecture isn't going to be too long because there's not a whole lot. Uh, you know, uh, I don't want to bore you with too much stuff. So I want to talk about some of the basic styles that we're going to look for. All right. So what you're going to look for is the artist uses a kind of mixture of realism, with some of the characters and stuff being drawn very realistically, and also and kind of in some cases quite the opposite of realism, an abstract kind of sketchbook style, as one of your sources described it, where it doesn't look quite real at all, and then sometimes it almost looks like Japanese anime. It's the 70s style and kind of bright colors and very squarely drawn characters at the time. It'll shift between that and realism, and it'll shift styles very quickly. And the purpose of that is to kind of create the unease and the tension, that everybody involved in this thing experiences. And whenever there's a page with just kind of really bold colors, it's supposed to draw your attention to what those colors represent, what they impart emotionally, with all the yellows and reds and oranges, on fire, tension, anger. And then on the other hand, on the color palette, we have, in contrast, a lot of very muted colors, like what you're going to see in The Watchmen, where those off-key or muted colors kind of show you, they depart from the original intention of bright colors of things like Superman in comic books was to make the superheroes seem super strong and extraordinary and really stand out. Whereas these muted colors show you just how helpless, people are involved. Even the, warden and the, officers, they're all prisoners of their own hatred, incompetence, inability to do, some basic things that need to be done. But one thing I want you to understand about how these prisons work, and I don't know if they did a good job in the comic of coming off. Just imagine this, okay? So I'm like a rich guy, like Nelson D. Rockefeller, the governor of New York. And I've got money, and basically I've got connections to business like laundry and different metalworking, different types of stuff, like making road signs or license plates or whatever. And, I've got, these business connections. So what I do is I decide to build a prison. But first, what I do is I go to the governor of that state. In this case, it's me, Nelson D. Rockefeller. And I say, well, if I build this prison, I can make it a law that the prison has to be 95% full to 100% full at any given time. And anytime you have a prison in America, there is a deal between the governor of that state or the state government and that prison, that the prison will remain near to full occupancy at all time, which is very dangerous because that gives law enforcement an incentive to put people in jail. Meanwhile, prisoners work in prison for, 23.10 cents an hour, and the products that they make, displace and discourage small business people, say like your mom and dad, from owning something like a laundromat or having a laundry business. Because in the state, all the laundry for the hotels, the motels, the restaurants, and the entire state are all going to be washed through prisons. And that's why prisons always have laundry duty, because they can undercut people like your parents trying to have a business by making, laundry done by the prison where they don't have to pay employees extremely cheap. And so that's what the prisoners have a problem with, that type of slave labor. But so basically you can see that this whole thing with prisons is a very shady business. And that's not the only business that they're involved with. In the past, there was the timber industry, And now it's like, road signs, it's, some very shady stuff. All right, another style you're going to see in here is like this Pulp Fiction style. You're going to see some similar artwork style compared to concentration camps, and some style that's similar out of the Black Power movement. So here we go. So already you can see the Black Power fist, which is a symbol of empowerment from the 70s, and the barbed wire, those ideas combining together. Now, right here is what one critic and one of your sources referred to as the sketchbook style of abstractism, where it starts getting less realistic and more abstract. And, in my opinion, that's the deal with, the chaos of what's going on, the vibrations from the helicopter. But you're going to see that come and go as well. And it's also jumping back and forth between realism and abstractism. Abstraction, makes a jarring situation. So again, here you can see that on the right-hand side, that almost, Rage Against the Machine style street graffiti type posters that you see. Dominant color orange, for anger, aggression, violence, and then black for death. On the left, you see the crowd of people unarmed, you know. All right, you can see elements of realism here. All right. On the right-hand side there, that photograph, these are, this photograph, the particular style of it, with the way people are postured and what they're wearing and the glasses and the brick wall and up against the wall. It's very reminiscent of a lot of stuff out of the civil rights movement. And that's the style that's going to carry itself through. If you look back at black and white photos from the civil rights era, that's what that's supposed to kind of emulate there. All right. Just want to go back 1 second here. All right. Now, I wanted you to notice, up here at the top right-hand corner of the page, the kind of squiggly lines around the word balloon indicating that that's, coming out of the TV that has an electronic quality. And then you notice on the left side of the page, you have those kind of multiple balloons. And one thing that's interesting to look at in balloons, it doesn't happen that much in this comic, but in comics in general, is there's generally, where the balloons have they start to get small again, there's a space. And anytime you have one balloon that's stretched out real long, with big spaces in between the dialogue, that's supposed to be a pause in conversation to create a dramatic effect, which is more in The Watchmen. Okay, again, on the right-hand side, we have that, that Pulp Fiction-esque, um, you know, uh, Black Power movement fist around the barbed wire. On the left side, you have black and white realism. They kind of, oppose each style, but it works. It helps create the crazy, energy of this whole situation. And then here we're right back to the sketchbook style abstraction. And if you'll notice in the center of the page, we have the media crew that's especially, highlighted to make them stand out. And that's what you call, center point of view. There's several different kinds of point of view. For example, there's aerial. If we were like way up high looking down on these guys, it gives us a sense of superiority, but also detachment. And that's kind of what we're at here. We're kind of like above them looking down and separate from the picture. If we were on eye level, that puts us down there with them, like these lower panels where my big hand is blocking the way. That puts us at eye level with the characters, and that makes us feel like more connected to them and more part of the story. So that's why you have that emotional element there. Now, if we were on the ground looking up, we're meant to be seen as like victims. That's what they call worm's eye view. So you have bird's eye view, eye level view, and worm's eye view. And the worm's eye view will come later when we see a big black being tortured more. All right. right, again on the right, you get that abstraction, left-hand page realism, right-hand page, that kind of abstract sketchbook style, very reminiscent of concentration camp art. Is done very much for a reason, since these prisoners were being abused and tortured and starved and humiliated. So you see we get a lot of that in here. And again, that's that same style here with the helicopter. Nice big splash page there. That's nice. About to get the gas. Again, we see hand style on the side of the page. Things change in style and art style. Again, to give you that sense of chaos. All right, you can see again, the dominant colors: red, blood, wrath, orange, fire, anger, starting to take over. We shift in style to this almost. Oh God, I'm almost not quite sure how to describe this style, but it's almost surreal. It's almost the way that the guard's head is floating above everybody else, like yelling down, blackness like raining down from him, and torture everywhere and all that stuff. It's to mimic the craziness that's going on at this time, and just how surreal and strange all that this can happen in America. And then it goes right back to realism. And then it just, you can see how it's, even in this one page, how the style shifts so much to show Big Black's disorientation. You have the fist holding the clubs in the foreground to exaggerate, how much he's being beaten. All the, the orange of the in the background, almost like an explosion of the gun butt hitting him in the head. And then as he fades to unconsciousness, all this stuff through different styles of art to show the disorientation and violence. Really quite well done, quite well done. And then it maintains that kind of street style, graffiti style, type art at the same time, which is what's interesting and what makes this graphic novel so appealing visually, I believe. You can see the dominant colors there that are muted. Always these colors are muted, and those muted colors help drive across the point that these characters are, underlooked, ignored. The parts of our society are extremely, underrepresented, compared to other parts, or, uh, disenfranchised. And, no matter what your politics are, it's just a fact. So I'm just flipping through right here just to show you some stuff and the realism with these politicians, and especially this scene here, the way that Big Black's being tortured and laid out. So that is all, class. I hope you enjoy this comic. It is extremely relevant in terms of what's going on right now. So have a good day.